Hey there, toy collector friends and Transformers fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Triple TC, that's the time travelling toy collector, and today we are looking at Reunited at Last, the Jumpstarters. Now, this is the Jumpstarter Twin Twist and Topspin, as they have been, well, they were, Topspin has only just been released as part of a Age of the Primes 2-pack with Spinister, and I have done a little sort of look at that box set in another video, so do check that out if you are so inclined. But also we have Twin Twist, who was released a couple of years ago as part of the Wreck and Rule line, but was only released on his own. Now, whilst I've looked at both of these independently, I thought it would be nice just to sort of have them together, because originally, I know they weren't originally released as a pair back in the 80s, but they were a team. They were the Jumpstarters. They weren't headmasters. Now they have become headmasters. I think that's because this tooling was originally used in the Age of the Primes or Titan's Return, where everybody was a headmaster. Everybody and their mother was a headmaster in that. For reasons that I don't understand. So they all came with little Titan Masters, which became the heads. So I don't know whether you'd call these Titan Masters or Headmasters or what you want to call them, but anyway, they're their companion pieces. And I couldn't track down, and if you know the answer to this, please let me know in the comments, the name of Twin Twist's Titan Master / Headmaster as he appeared in the Legacy line. So this was from the Legacy line, Transformers, the Legacy line, as this was from Age of the Primes. So we know that this is Freeze-Out, who is his Headmaster / Titan Master pilot companion, but I don't know the name of Twin Twist. And I did check the packaging, and it's nowhere on there, nowhere to be found at all. Nor is it in the instructions. The new instructions always sort of identify the names of each of the individual bots that are included, or characters that are included. Nothing was mentioned for Twin Twist. So to be fair, I was going to look online before I started the video, but time got away from me a little bit. So if you know the name of Twin Twist's Titan Master / Headmaster from this iteration, I don't mean from Titan's Return or Age of the Primes or whatever, but from this iteration, then please let me know in the comments, and I'll be eternally grateful for that. If not, we'll just have to do a competition for what we're going to call them. Now, the Jumpstarters were originally a sort of almost pallid kind of blue and white, if I remember rightly, a very pale powder blue and white type of colour. And I did find, I think it may have been Battle Armor Dad. I think it's Battle Armor Dad on Instagram, who does an awful lot of posting of old adverts and old sort of catalogue entries. And that account posted something which was a page which had, or an advert for the Jumpstarters, and they look, you know, the original ones are very much of their time. Again, they have no real meaningful articulation. They did have a really good gimmick, so you could they were sort of pull back friction, so you'd pull them back, I believe, let them go, and then they jump into action as their robot mode. So they had a sort of time limited forward motion that then triggered the transformation in one step, and they just literally sprang apart. So it was literally a case of you fold them in half, not to be crude about it, but you fold them in half, pull them back, off they go, they transform. But of course, in the 80s, that's the sort of gimmicks that we absolutely loved. Nowadays, you did that, we'd be, well, I don't know, I was about to say we'd probably laugh in your face, but actually, if they produced them like that, we'd probably spend 90 quid to buy them in a 2-pack Commander edition of the G1 Jumpstarters in G1 colours and with the spring-loaded effect. You know, that's probably what we do. I'm not giving Hasbro ideas. Don't do it, Hasbro, please, because we all know I'm gonna I'll end up buying it, so please don't do it. But I just thought it would be quite nice to, as they were a team, and it's been a few years keeping them apart, quite why we didn't get Topspin released in it, because some of the other Wreck and Rule combinations came out as a 2-pack, and I think at the time I said I didn't really understand why we didn't get Topspin as a 2-pack, but also why we didn't get Topspin as just standalone, because we got Twin Twist as a standalone in his own little box. And I think there was an assumption that one of the other reveals for that range was going to be Topspin, but it just didn't happen. And I'm sure there's reasons, but I don't know what they were, and I couldn't find what they were. So again, I appeal to the YouTube community of Transformers fans. We need a better name for that. But if you know why, then please let me know in the comments down below. I don't know whether it's a rights issue. I don't see why it would be, because they're not remolds, are they? They're just recolours of those original, well, I say the original, of the re-released Jumpstarters. So anyway, I just thought it was quite nice to sort of get a second to take them in hand. I'm not going to go through an entire sort of review of the figures, but because I just think they look really nice together. And again, I won't say it's a con on Hasbro's part, because I don't think it is necessarily a con, but in order for me to get this without waiting for a secondary market where someone's going to sell it, you know, standalone, out of the box, and I'm not a fan of that, if I'm honest. Then I had to get this with Spinister. Now, Spinister. Now, Spinister is not a character that I have any relationship with. A Target Master. And again, those of you who follow the channel know, Target Masters sort of came as I was departing the original 1980s collecting line. So it was never really something that I got hooked into. And I had no desire to sort of pick that character up. But I'm glad I did, because it's actually quite a decent figure. But I would never have done it if I hadn't wanted to get this, because I can't bear the idea of the two not being reunited. And now I've got them, there's some lovely things I want to point out, which are very obvious, but I just like it, so I want to acknowledge it. So they're in Diaclone colours. Certainly Twin Twist acknowledges he's from the Diaclone universe as part of the legacy branding, which pulled things from across different universes. I think Age of the Primes is probably sticking to that sort of methodology, just so they can have as many different figures as they possibly can. But I love the way that these two characters, I'm starting with them in the alt modes. These two characters in the alt modes have wonderfully complementary colours. So whereas the very original, I'm not talking about Age of the Primes, blah, blah, the very original, it's not Age of the Primes, sorry, Power of the Primes and associated ranges around that time. I'm talking about the G1 versions, which had, you know, zero articulation, except they were self-propelling and single jump up into position as robots. They had that sort of powder blue and white scheme. Great. These being the Diaclone colours, far more dynamic colours, far more engaging colours, but also beautifully done to be opposing colours. So where we have the reds on one, we have the blues on the other, and where we have the blues on one, we have the reds on the other. And I think that works so well, and it's a lovely touch in terms of giving us that sense of cohesion between the two characters without it being, you know, too cheesy. I mean, okay, it's a bit cheesy, but without it being too cheesy, I think this really works. Now, obviously, Twin Twist comes with his two twisty bits at the front, which are sort of drill bits, so he can assault that way. He also has tracks here, so and little wheels. He has the Wreckers symbol there, and I did look, but I couldn't see an Autobot symbol anywhere on his vehicle mode, which is, I have no issue with that. I'm only mentioning it because we do have the Wrecker symbol here, but we do also have an Autobot symbol here in all its glory. So I don't know whether that's an error or deliberate, but there we are. I also, now again, in my mind, and it's just my mind, I always thought that Topspin was some sort of aquatic vehicle. You can see the thrusters there, but because he has landing gear and he has these wings, I'm wondering whether he's now more of an air assault vehicle, but it might be an amphibious air assault vehicle, so he may actually also be able to sort of touch down in the water. That's not unheard of. But I really love the design. It's really straightforward. It's really simple. And yes, they are obviously retools of each other. So the similarity in the transformation is very, very handy. but also it builds that cohesion. So even though there's minor differences, they're sufficient enough for me to go, yeah, these two are characterful and different. We'll just sort of, I was going to say pop the hoods, as it were, to get the cockpits open so we can just have a little look at their Titan Master buddies. Always struggle to get these open up until the point when I don't, because if you look, they also play the same game colour scheme wise, and you can see there we've got the reverse colours. So even in the head sculpts, what's blue is red and what's red is blue. So it's really beautifully done consistently across these two vehicles, and I think that's fantastic. I really like that. So that's them in their vehicle mode, pretty much well matched and well paired. Let's get them into their robot mode. And here they are, transformed nicely into their robot modes. And I have to say, it is such an easy transformation. It's simple, it's fun, it's intuitive, and most brilliant of all, it's the same twice. And I really love how they come together. So we have Twin Twist and we have Topspin, complete with their Titan Master, Headmaster accompaniments there. And they just, again, the very same point I was making before really pops here. You can see how they are in opposing colour schemes. The same, but different. And I think it works so fantastically well. I mean, there's no, I don't know whether we would have wanted or not wanted some additional or slightly adjusted tooling on the chests, but to be fair, I don't think it matters, because I think they are two of a kind. That's the whole point of the Jumpstarters, is that they work together, they're two of a kind, and they're here to, you know, take on those pesky Decepticons. And I really love the aesthetic here. I know Diaclone Colours isn't for everybody, and in many respects, I don't think it's for me. I often wonder if they ever got round to releasing the sort of some of the character models for Studio Series 86, the movie, that didn't make it to the final cut. For example, the Diaclone colouring of Ultra Magnus. Would that be something I'd pick up? And I'm not sure I would. I'm not sure I wouldn't, but I'm not sure I would. But here, because there's a real consistency and there's a real cohesiveness, which I think I've said before, between these two figures, it really does work for me, and I really do like it. So just a very quick up close and in hand look at what we've got here. We've got a wonderful head sculpt. Again, the chest detailing, I mean, this is by definition quite quick, because you're looking at two very identical figures with only really the back that's changed. I will say, I don't know how they don't, well, it does a bit. Yeah, you can see here the knee joints on the mold for Twin Twist are not as great as I would like them to be. They are quite a bit floppy, but nevertheless, everything is nicely folded in. There's paneling on all the key transformation areas, so there's very little by way of exposed areas. Bit of waffling on some of the bits, but to be honest, that it's not too distracting. And of course, the lovely Headmaster or Titan Master sculpting there, and his counterpart with the difference being the arm sections. So he's got wings as opposed to treads, and of course around the back he's got these pylons as opposed to the drill bits. And again, some aspects are loose. I mentioned this in the 2-pack video looking at him and Spinister. There's a bit of looseness there. Legs are much tighter, however. They're much tighter. They're supposed to be sort of half open, allegedly, and they've looked all right. But yeah, so a couple of wobbly bits, but then, you know, they're not the most robust figures, but they do tidy up nicely, and you can see that the similarities for them side by side are evident. It's the retooling on their forward areas and their support areas, whether they've got wings or they've got treads, and I just think they just look good together. They photograph well together. You do get a sense of this is a dynamic team, and you know, what more can you ask for? It's nice to see these two wreckers reunited after such a span apart, and I'm really glad that I've got them in my collection. So let me know if you've picked these up. Are you glad to have them? Does the Diaclone colouring work for you, or would you have rather seen the G1 colouring? I know from some previous comments some people would have liked to see that, but let me know in the comments down below your thoughts. And there's not that many wreckers left to see. There's a couple of big hitters that I really want to get my hands on, because I never had the original versions, not least because they weren't available in the UK. And I would love to get my hands on those, and I'm really hoping that they are somewhere down the line in the age of the primes. It seems like a good as place as any to do it. But yeah, so this has been me taking a little sort of sidestep to revisit Twin Twist and more recently Topspin, just so that I can bring these two together and show you them in their beautiful uniqueness. And by unique I mean almost identical, but there's just so much to like about them. I think they're not the most challenging figures, they're not the most robust figures, to be perfectly honest, as you've seen, but I just like them. I like the simplicity of the transformation, I like the color schemes, I just like them, and that's why I've done a video bringing them together. Any other teams that we haven't seen yet that aren't obviously combiner teams that you'd quite like to see realised in Age of the Primes or whatever comes after that? Let me know in the comments down below. As ever, it would be great if you can drop a like to the video, and if you want to, a subscription would be fantastic. Helps me get to my next subscriber milestone. But if not, I'm just glad you were here for the ride. I've been the Triple TC, that's the Time Travelling Toy Collector, and this has been a return to form for the Jumpstarters. It's Twin Twist, it's Topspin, across two different lines, across several years, but they're finally reunited. And it just remains for me to say that things of beauty really are toys forever. Take care. Bye-bye for now.